everybody, I hope you're all doing well. I'm the Tmeister, and welcome back to the Timbukton region, more specifically the town of Averdeen, just on the outskirts. So, we got everything started off in the last episode, and this episode is going to be a continuation of that. We're going to be working on a supermarket close to downtown. We're also going to be filling in a lot of commercial and residential areas around town. We're also going to construct a lot of important landmarks in Averdeen, which is the town hall and a few other government buildings. And we're also going to construct a large Oceanside resort. So that's going to be pretty interesting. I'm super excited to get started on that. Well, in my case, I got it finished, but I'm excited to present it to you guys. So anyways, without further ado, let's get this started. And I'm going to start off by saying I'm super excited with the response that you guys gave me for the release of the Timbukton region. I hope you guys are excited as I am to get into details and to start constructing the town. Alright, so for the food market, I wanted to get it as crammed into this little tile as neatly as possible. And to do that, I had to create a custom parking lot because this particular asset does not come with its own parking lot, which is good because that gives me a lot of flexibility on how I want the whole area to sort of pan out. So right beside the food market, I was sort of conflicted on what I wanted to build right beside it, and I chose to create a pharmacy. So you'll see in just a second here, I'm going to plop it down in this little area where I'm trying out a bunch of different buildings. So this particular part of town, we're going to say that a lot of older historic buildings were demolished in order to make room for the supermarket. And so the area was developed in a sort of 60s, 70s era. As you can see, the supermarket, I mean, it doesn't really look all that modern, and the pharmacy will just say that it's an older building that was sort of updated through the years. So I'll let you guys enjoy that, and I'll talk to you in a couple minutes. Okay guys, so now I'm just working on the town hall. I hated the way that the vanilla trees look, so using the prop it up tool we're able to change that into some aftermarket trees. And moving on now, we're going to work on a museum. I'll let you guys decide in the comments what sort of museum it is. It's not really something that I thought about, but I thought that this was a perfect location for, I guess, such a prestigious building. Because right across the street, as you can see, there are a couple of large houses. So I just wanted the area to feel more high-end, a little richer, if you will. As you can see, even the landscaping is quite nice. We have some hedges all around and these nice barriers in the front. It helps give the area a little bit more of a prestigious look. In this area as well is going to be the resort. It's going to be on a small peninsula just in behind these large houses that you see here. After the resort, there's going to be a lot of interesting things in the near future that are going to be built in Averdeen. One of those is a golf course. Another one is a yacht club, which we're going to see the next episode. There's going to be various interesting things to see around town, as well as in Averdeen County in a whole. I'd say that the main industry in Averdeen County would be tourism. Second would be fishing. Okay, so it just gives you a general idea on what the whole theme of the county is. And with that, you can imagine there being a lot of fish plants and little marinas and ports, for fishing boats. So that's to come in the near future. So there's not only Averdeen that's going to be the main focus in Averdeen County. It is the main town within the county, but there's going to be a lot of other things to see as well. So anyways, we just finished the museum. It's not a particularly big project, and now we're going to move on to the resort. The resort's a little bit more tricky. I wanted to plop it up on this high peninsula here, and it took a little bit of playing around with the terrain and with the Move It tool to get it to fit just right. It was a little bit of a challenge, but I guess it was worth it because it looks really nice up on that hill. It's one of the only buildings in Averdeen that you can actually see from a distance. So if you're on the other side of the bay, it's one of the only buildings that you can actually see. The rest are pretty much shrouded in trees. So I guess it's a very prominent landmark of the town. It's probably, I would imagine it being one of the main attractions as well. Sort of the primary hotel for the town. I'm going to take a short break from building the resort, and I want to work on this little coastal area you see here. The idea behind it is a lot of people around Averdeen are going to sort of have their own little summer homes or little cottages close to the water, and this area is exactly that. There's obviously going to be some smaller cottages, some very luxurious cottages. There's going to be a wide range of different wealths within the summer cottages. A lot of people are even going to have their own little personal docks. So these sort of areas are going to be dotted around the whole map. There's even going to be small villages of just cottages and summer homes that I'm going to get to eventually. So definitely stay tuned for that. During this entire project, I'm going to try to make the coastlines as realistic as possible. So I'm going to be adding some bushes and tall grass. And like many areas, especially around where I live, the soil is very soft. It's almost like sandstone and clay. It's really prone to erosion, so a lot of people around my area will actually have seawalls and breakwaters around their property just to protect them from erosion. So that's something that's going to be quite frequent within Averdeen and the whole Timbukton region in a whole. In some places, the terrain is going to be super rocky, so it's not really that prone to erosion. But it's mostly going to be around towns and villages where, you know, you don't necessarily want to lose land every year. Just to give you guys an example, a couple of years ago I was on Prince Edward Island visiting a lighthouse, and they had to build these cement barriers around the lighthouse because within like 10 or 15 years, something like that, the land would have eroded right underneath the lighthouse. They were losing like a couple of feet every year. So, I mean, that's probably a pretty severe case of erosion. But anyways, that's just to give you guys an idea on those sorts of situations. Right here, I start to notice that some of my citizens were being sick, and that's because that water tower is really close to my incinerator. So don't do that, guys. That's actually something that I've done many times before, and I don't know why I keep doing it. I almost killed an entire city of like 150,000 people a couple of years ago when I was building Belmont. And back then, I had no clue why all my citizens were dying. And it took me a couple of hours to find the cause of that, but I don't know, I just keep doing it anyways. At least in this case I caught it early on, so it didn't affect the town too much. What we're doing now is just detailing the area around the resort. I'm going to add a few features to it. I'm going to add a pool, a couple of benches here and there, and we're also going to add a lighthouse on the tip of the peninsula. So that's going to be like the cherry on the cake. It's going to be one of the most important landmarks in Averdeen, and it's one of the first structures that you're going to see coming into the town by boat. Now we're all done the resort, and we're going to move on to the next phase in the Averdeen project, and that is the continuation of Main Street. And this part of Main Street is going to be, I guess, more of your tourist attraction sort of area. You get your little mom and pop shops, little gift shops, restaurants, motels, that sort of stuff. Just to put this into context, if you're driving towards Bar Harbor, Maine, you'll notice that the road onto the island is just lined with these little lobster shops and little hotels, motels, all sorts of family-run businesses. And these little shops are usually the ones that close down for the winter, so they're usually open from like the beginning of June to the end of September typically. So this is exactly the same situation. Now what you're seeing me do right now is I didn't really like the way the cliff just dropped off into the water, and I wanted to create a little beach on the bottom. And that's actually quite difficult in this game because the waves in City Skylines are so large. It's hard to get the sand to be at exactly the right level where it's just not flooded all the time. On this beach there's not going to be much. There's not going to be really anything. It's not a public beach. It was just a little side project that I wanted to try. But I'm still quite happy with the way that it turned out. And just as a side note, guys, if ever you have any ideas or things you would like to see me build, feel free to let me know in the comments, and I'll certainly I'll take those into consideration. There's a whole bunch of stuff that I want to build in the future. We're going to build a national park eventually, campgrounds. So this region is going to be very outdoorsy in comparison to Aubrey City, for example, which is a huge city. Everything's a lot more urban. Now, in a couple of episodes, we're going to get into Averdeen's suburban areas. So, like most North American cities, the closer you are to downtown, the more gritty it usually gets. And then if you go towards the outskirts, all the streets sort of become a lot more intertwined, if you will. Not really sure how to explain it, but you guys probably know what I mean. And Averdeen is no exception to that, although because it's only a small town, there's not going to be a huge, suburban flatland. But nevertheless, Averdeen's going to have its own little suburban area, which we'll get to probably in the next 2 episodes, maybe. So this is pretty much what we're going to do in this episode. What I'm plopping down now is a social services building, and that's the final building that we're going to plop down in this episode. So I really hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. I'm having a ton of fun with Averdeen and the Timbukton region in total, and I'm really excited to see where this series takes off. So I'm going to leave you guys with a few cinematic scenes of what we built in this episode. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Also subscribe to the channel for much more content on the way. And thank you guys so much for watching. It really means a lot to me. So until the next episode, guys, please take care.